Yes, hi. It's Florian Idenburg and Jing Liu from Soil. We are here at the CTC, which is this additional storage space of CCA, and we're looking into the archives of Ábalos and Herreros. And what we have here is quite an interesting project that we have been looking at, and I think we can share with you a few things that are of interest.
Yeah, so the project is what we're participating is out of the box, and I understand that the archive of Ábalos and Herreros arrived at CC about a year ago, and it's still in the process of the cataloging. So the kind of amount and the kind of depth and the also content of the archive is still not completely clear to anyone, and so in a way that we are also participating in this whole process and then trying to understand what's included in the archive and what are the interesting materials that we can discover from them. And what's interesting, I think, is that Ábalos and Herreros, we know both of them through our academic life. To teaching at the GSD and also at the Columbia. So we've had some personal interactions with them about also the conversations, with them about this project that we're doing. And obviously we know their work as our immediate kind of generation before us. So it's very interesting to look at the archive not as something that's too historical, but something that we can have this very intimate relationship with.
Yeah, and so this file here, this is a waste recycling plant at the outskirts of Madrid. What is interesting about this project in our minds is that as the Spanish landscape was transforming, what Ábalos Herreros did is they started to identify new sites or new terrains for the architectural project.
What's interesting is that, post kind of Franco era in Spain, there was, in a way, a cultural vacuum, but also, in a way, Ábalos and Herreros as a practice was very active in finding also new territories where previously architecture was not part of that conversation, and it didn't exist in this landscape, both culturally and also actually physically. But they really went to kind of this outskirts territories of the cities, or the beach, or recycling centers. In the case of this project, and it really started to fold this kind of landscape into part of the architecture discussion. And also in turn, I think because this landscape are in a way tabula rasa, and you have to really, it's a daunting task when you face such a big kind of vast emptiness that almost like any kind of cultivation is not there, that you have to invent certain stories and certain life that architecture can start to participate in this landscape. And we found a lot of pictures of their site visit that had, just two men standing in a very, vast emptiness, and you see the scale of the land they're working with and the scale of them as a people, like that difference. And there's something heroic about those acts.
Yeah, and what is interesting, maybe we show one sort of the technique that they used is they took a lot of pictures of these sites, and then they started to collage in sort of these new lifestyles, these new things that they are thinking of how to inhabit this land. And what is also fascinating, this being the pre Photoshop era in a way, or it was sort of at the verge, right, where things were still done very manual and then became much more digital. What is interesting, and I will flip to this one section where they made collages, which they literally cut and paste out of magazines and stuff. So here, this one is maybe a good one to start. So here, for instance, you see it's literally cut and paste out of magazines and everything. But they started to imagine different types of occupation in that landscape. Formula One racing, some pyramids in the back. And if we move on a little further, here it says originals, so that's going to get very exciting. This is the folder we were looking for.
This is also a picture that's quite telling in showing the vastness and the emptiness of this barrenness of this landscape, and the touch there kind of dropping onto this landscape. The horizon even have that curvature.
So let's open this original photo montage, which obviously is quite different from the way these things are being done nowadays. Here you see, and so I think this idea, not just the technique that they used, or the technique that they used to represent, also has a strong relationship to the design technique that they actually had. So it is sort of this cutting of elements and inserting them into this new landscape. I think there's a strong relationship, and it's interesting to think about the design methodology and the outcome, the architectural outcome. So I think that was there's a very strong relationship between those two.
But I think that at the moment they cut an element out of, let's say, an advertisement of a car company and put them in a new landscape like this. They're already giving a new meaning to that activities and kind of describing this contemporary life, the activities that's in the contemporary life in this.
But you have to close the thing.
Yeah.
I hope we don't get to. And so, where the land was first barren, now suddenly there's children walking around in strollers and birds flying. And so I think the idea of bringing in people into this new land is what is.
This next one is fascinating for me, that because you can see that there's some kind of architectural intervention. You have to be quite inventive or imaginative in thinking of just really out of the norm activities that happen in this kind of landscape, and then there's a certain architectural form and the materiality start to take place even in this collage. There's a man just walking on this stretched netting surface that has this curvature that somehow belongs to the language of this landscape. And you wonder where they're going and what they're doing.
And maybe we end with this one in this folder. This shows sort of again from high up. This is a photocopy. The photocopier was also one of the main tools at that time, the scissors and the photocopier. But here you see sort of through this patterns and this collage technique, how they indeed gave a new definition to land that wasn't touched before.